This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, you are very welcome. This is Reading the Past and I'm Dr. Cat. And today's the day. I have finally plucked up the courage. We are going to fix the problem with my bookshelves, and we are also going to reorder the books into a more logical position. And while doing so, we're finally going to do the bookcase tour that I have been asked for so long. So, bear with me, this could be quite a lot.
But before we jump into today's topic, I want to say an absolutely massive thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring another video on this channel. I have been seeing some comments that do suggest that YouTube might be up to some of its old tricks once again. People are letting me know that they have found themselves to be mysteriously unsubscribed from this channel. Now, unfortunately, I don't know how to fix this issue on the platform itself, but Squarespace has come to our rescue. Thank you to everyone that has already signed up to be on my mailing list. Here is how you can do it if you haven't done so already. Every week, Squarespace lets me put together a newsletter. In it, I will share my sneak peek of the new video, and that will be a day earlier than anywhere else. I share a link to the premiere for the Friday, and when it's History News Live Week, I will share a link to that as well. On top of this, I have also been using the newsletter to share a little bit about what I've been up to over the week. The newsletter will also be a place that any new merch will be previewed before it's added to my shop. In short, my mailing list is the place to be. And this has all been made possible through using Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch your website, go to squarespace.com/readingthepast to save 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.
But without further ado, let's sort out these bookshelves. Now, I did have the plan to film this using this camera and try and get the whole bookshelf in. There is, however, a wall in the way, so my camera can't go where I need it to go to do that filming. But however, my phone does give me the option to film these things from a distance that will not make me have to go through the wall to make it work. So I'm going to try and handycam it, I suppose, using this, and then splice it together and be very technical about it. So I'm going to show you what we're working with in terms of the bookshelf now. So as you can see, we have got a corner unit. There is quite a bit of stuff up top. There are lots more books than you normally see on camera when I'm filming. And I have been thinking about how to approach this. One of the big reasons for doing this alteration is that there is a problem. And if I come up close, maybe you can see it. And that is that it's not sitting flush to the wall. The bookcase is in fact leaning out. There's a little bear's ear sticking up there, leaning out quite considerably. And if you look at the back there, that little piece of metal dangling down should not be dangling down. Additionally, this has come from somewhere in the bookshelf. That's come loose. So there is a part of me that thinks it is really now or never, because otherwise this might one day collapse on me. I'm just going to pull back, and you can probably now see that it's very much on the wonk. So we're going to try and anchor it to the wall. With that in mind, I have got this lovely bag of tricks that Amazon reliably informs me will allow me to anchor the bookshelf to the wall. So, with that being said, I'm going to probably take some photographs as well. So I've got a before and after record. We have got a long afternoon ahead. I'm not going to do this all in real time because you have lives to get to. Obviously, you've just seen what the bookshelf looks like. We can't go through every book that I own. And I'll be completely honest, these are not all of my books. There are books in the living room. There are books in the kitchen, mostly cookery books, although not exclusively. And also, since having my son, I have started listening to audiobooks because of the hands-free capabilities that gives you. So there are things that I rely on and sources that I have used that are either in libraries, in other rooms, or on my phone or in my Audible playlist. This, however, is the majority of my books, so we're going to work with that. Do come along with me, and if you are watching along, wish me luck. I think I'm going to need it. The next step, you may notice that I've left the books on the bottom two shelves, and the reason for that is because there's no space on the floor. There's not enough space on the floor for the books that I have, so this is going to make this process slightly more painful and awkward, because I'm going to have to, in effect, sort the books on the shelves and shift things around that way, because I don't actually have the floor space. Another reason why I'm sort of realising that there is potentially a chance that one can have too many books. But onwards, this will be finished. It feels insurmountable now, but it will be finished. And we will talk about the books. I've spotted books that I want to point out as books that I've really enjoyed, that I'm currently enjoying, etc. We'll get there, friends. So I'm quite happy with the idea of keeping fiction over to this side, because I film from here, and so if I need to reach for something quickly, then it makes some sense having fiction on this side. So, and what's helpful is as well, there is a lot of fiction already over here. Now, I'm aware that you probably can't see that very well, so I have got my phone, and we'll start from the bottom up. So the majority of these are books that I studied either at school or university. So up at the end, you can't see, it's Kurtz's Disgrace, and then next to it is Paradise Lost, which I wrote one of my third year undergraduate dissertation on. Fool's Gold in Paradise Lost. So we've got some fiction from various time periods. The Natural Way of Things was, I've read this book a while ago, but I was really impressed with the way it's written. I heard a rumour that it was being made into a film, and if it was, I've missed it. But I would like to see the film. It's not a happy book, but it is definitely a book that I would recommend. So if you're in the mood for something that might make you a little bit angry, then maybe go for that. Yes, Lord of the Flies. When I was young, I was in secondary school. We did a production of Lord of the Flies, all girls school, doing Lord of the Flies. I think our parents were pretty shocked and surprised to see us beating one of our classmates. That was probably a bit of a shock. They had been used to the Nativity before then, so perhaps slightly worrying. And along here we have the book version of The Princess Bride. That is my favourite film from very young childhood, so it's lovely to have the book as well. And these are all books that I studied at university, or that I've read either before or since. I love The God of Small Things. I think that's a beautiful book. In fact, I taught that to a group of undergraduates, one of my first courses that I taught when I was at the university. So that's a beautiful book as well. So I think I'm going to keep these as they are, the novels here, and then I'm going to move some things around here. I have got some novels up here already. I'm going to keep this all novels, and then I think I'm going to probably, as the shelves go up, put in plays. Just generally keep this side fiction and this shelf down here fiction too. So a lot of people have wondered how much historical fiction I have, and it's a fair amount. Hilary Mantel will always be one of my go-tos. I love her writing. I think the way she evokes the period is phenomenal. I taught this as well, fun home tragicomic, excellent graphic novel. So Tamburlaine Must Die. It's another fantastic text. And then I've got non-Shakespeare plays, some of which I studied at university, some of which I studied at school.
some of which I've been in, so some good memories up on this shelf, definitely. Oh, that's a actor's text, that's goes up on the shelf up there. And then some more fiction. At the end here, these ones, they are, I'm not even sure how you describe it. So anybody who saw the TV show Castle, the detective show, one of the protagonists in it is an author called Richard Castle. And so these books were both written to support the show, I suppose. But yeah, so that's good fun. I like having those. Streetcar Named Desire, fabulous play, one of my favourites. And here's the Lord of the Flies. We've got the novel down there and the play version as well. The Graduate, one of the first plays I ever saw in the theatre, so that was fairly exciting. This play doesn't get done enough. Elegies for Angels, Punks and Raging Queens, absolutely phenomenal drama. You can see it's a well-thumbed copy, set against the backdrop of the HIV and AIDS crisis. Beautiful music, beautiful story, absolutely phenomenal. So far up here, I've now got theatre practice books. So theatre theory, voice work. So if you have to give a talk and you're worried about your voice giving out, some techniques for keeping your voice in fine fettle. And then I've come along here and I've started putting costume or making books, I suppose, costume or clothing making books at the end here. These may have to come back across here depending on what comes in the middle. And then I've decided to put some history reference books up along here that are not dealing with the Tudor period, because I have so many Tudor books that they're going to get their own shelf/shelves. Of course, there is some overlap in some of these. A history of cannibalism, I found that really interesting to read. And this is the She-Wolves book. Of course, that does go into the Tudor period, but I've popped it up here beside stuff on courtiers and Georgian London. And then we're going through to History of Women in 100 Objects, Suffragettes, and 100 Great Black Britons to kind of bring us. Obviously, this spans back to pre the 20th century, but it comes all the way up to it. So I've popped it up there, and we will add some more things. As you can see, I've started to create piles over here that hopefully will create some logic. We'll see, shall we? So I've decided to, as I said, I was going to move the costume books up to here, and then this end corner is going to be philosophy, anthropology, political thought. I'll be honest, a lot of these books are my husband's that I have purloined because they can be useful references, things like Prisons of Geography, and also I found Humans really interesting as well. These two are mine, and I've put them with, which might be, maybe it's weird to put them in with philosophy, but the reason I've put them there is because when I was doing my A-levels, I think I've told this story before, my teacher said, one of the first things she said was she told us that we should read the Marquis de Sade before we could discuss things like ethics and the philosophy of ethics and things like that. So a whole bunch of us went away and read these. So I group it with philosophy. And I suppose it has got philosophy in the bedroom. So in my mind, these are philosophy books. I'm aware that when people see them on my bookshelf, they do find it shocking, particularly as it's just now right below the history of cannibalism. That's not a comment on how I live my life. That's just where they go in my head. Right, let's carry on. So we have got 2 shelves of Tudorish history books. This, I will be honest, this is probably not how you'd lay out a library, but it makes sense in my brain to have these books close to me. So that's why I've done it. I've put these ones lower down because I do return to them There's lots of amazing images and explanations of various paintings from the Tudor period. Elizabeth and her people came from a National Portrait Gallery exhibition, absolutely phenomenal. I didn't get to see this one at the Met, but I was very pleased to get the book of it, to have access to the images. And as I talked about this exhibition quite a lot in the history news, I was very glad. This is a beautiful exhibition book, as is this, Shakespeare Stage in the World, one of my favourites. And we have got some biographies. Jane Boleyn, talked about her in a documentary, I've also played her. Intimate Letters of England's Queens is always worth a look as well. I also really enjoy books like this, Ian Mortimer's Time Traveller's Guide to Medieval and Elizabethan England. I think it's a really nice way in to explaining history. I think it's really easy and quick to read for many people. I think you can do it in bite-sized chunks, so definitely worth a look there. And then up here we have got Gareth's lovely book. This is a fabulous book, absolutely beautiful, talking about Hampton Court Palace. I've referenced Aubrey's Brief Lives a few times, great kind of early biography. The History Hit Miscellany, so that's another way to have a little bite-sized chunks of history. The Eric Ives Life and Death of Anne Boleyn, one of those just cornerstone biographies. Private Lives of the Tudors, I love this book. Really, it's a nice kind of sneak behind the curtain, so to speak, or the arras, if you will. And Corder's Labour's Lost. I use this. The dust jacket is very well dogged, unfortunately, because I was carrying it around in my rucksack for about 5 years, because I use this a lot for the final chapter of my doctoral thesis. It was really, really, really sort of changed my thinking about how women's labour is used in the early modern period, how it's in some respects hidden, and what we can learn from trying to excavate it. Another book that I used, or images from this book, A New World, England's First View of America. This is a beautiful text. It's John White's watercolours and in context, and it puts them alongside Theodore de Brye's later engravings. Really beautiful. I refer to it as being a proto-ethnography of an English man painting the indigenous population that he encounters in the Americas. And I also love this book, Arms and Armour. So great. This is from the Wallace collection. The Wallace collection is fabulous. If you're in London as well, it's free to enter unless you're going into one of their exhibitions, which are paid. Very good. This is starting to make sense for me. If there's any books on here that are catching your eye, let me know. I'll find a link for them as well. I'll tell you about them. Obviously, this is another well-read book, Henry VIII, Jasper Ridley. I've read that clearly numerous times, as the spine attests. Onwards and upwards. So I've decided to make this my Shakespeare early modern drama shelf. So we've got the Anthology of English Renaissance Drama here. I both use them in my own studies and also to teach. I've got a few complete works, as you can see. I've got an anthology of Shakespeare here. This is an excellent title. The notion there is perhaps an authentic Shakespeare. I think I should have a question mark after it, personally. And I've got the Bill Bryson. And so I've popped the other Bill Bryson books here, not because they are, this is related obviously, but they aren't necessarily related to this, but Bill Bryson now lives here in my head. Shakespeare's Britain goes here, and somewhere I have got Shakespeare's Restless World. I think it's actually over on my desk because I'm using it for research at the moment. So I actually will show you at the end, I'll show you what's in my desk because I'm researching with it. And in addition to having the complete works, I do also have some separates.
of the plays. Separate is the wrong word, but that's the one we've gone for. I have got William Shakespeare's Star Wars, the Klingon Hamlet, because why not? This is Shakespeare audition speeches for women, in case anybody ever needs me to tell them what they should be doing. I've put this up here because obviously you can see it's very well loved. I don't think it's going to survive if I try and smash it in to the bookshelf. But 1599, A Year in the Life of William Shakespeare by James Shapiro. It's very hard to do biography of Shakespeare, and so when one is well done, even if it's just a single year, as you can see, it's a lot in there for a single year. It's been, as I said, well-loved book. This was really interesting. I picked this up years ago. It's about the, in quotes, real historical figure behind Shakespeare's famous Scottish play. And Renaissance self-fashioning, Stephen Greenblatt. When I was doing my undergraduate, my MA, this was another one that is foundational to our understanding of this period. It's upon the foundations of this that lots of other scholarship has been built, really super important work. So now we're going to move up, and I have a plan for this. You may have a guess of how it's going to work. We'll see if it does. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure about the organisation of this shelf, but it's making sense sort of in my brain, so I'm prepared to go with it. I've gone for potentially uncomfortable conversations moving into literary theory, which maybe tells you how I felt about studying literary theory. Perhaps I'm letting some loose thoughts out. So we've got The Hammer of Witches, Harris's List of Covent Garden Ladies, City of Sin here, and then we've got some dueling, self-defence, poison. Then I'm getting into historical sciences / medicine. I want to do something with these sources. They're going to be coming back off of here so that I can research them. So I've done some things on alchemy, but I'm very interested by herbals, botanicals, history of childbirth, the asylum system, and then we get into some more word-based things. So we've got here Kant, A Gentleman's Guide. If you know, you know. This is related, actually, a classical dictionary of the vulgar tongue. I need to do some looking into that. And then just various literary theories, reference books, grammatical tips, Latin dictionaries. This is a text on how to do paleography, how to read secretary hand. It's a workbook for that. I do need to touch up on my secretary hand. I have got another book on paleography over there, which I will show in a minute. On this shelf, I've got 3 maps. I'm not sure what I want to do with them, but I don't necessarily want to put them in the bookshelf. I want to display them in some way. So they're going to just pop there for a second while I think about that. And up here, I have lovingly placed my bound doctoral thesis. 'Tis a weighty tome, 'tis a mighty beast, 'tis 100,000 words. Nearly cost me my sanity. Came very close, actually, but there she is. And just down here, I'm going to do something nice with this too. That is the book that I was very, very kindly sent by the team at SP Books. It's the Frankenstein. It's a facsimile of the manuscript of Frankenstein with all of the corrections. I did mention it in a previous video. Beautiful. SP Books do beautiful books, beautiful manuscript reproductions, or rather facsimiles. If you are in the market for that sort of thing, they are a company to check out. I would recommend. Just over here, you will notice my ever supportive and frankly long-suffering husband has very kindly brought me a cup of tea. I'm starting true crime over here because that's where the pile has landed. Up here, we have books that come from houses and exhibitions and museums that I visited, and also
we've got programmes from the RSC and the Globe, which they usually have, all of these ones do have incredible essays that are useful for reference. I want to keep those somewhere close to hand. So we have this many shelves left, and the floor looks like this. So we will see over in that corner over there, you might see a Christmas Carol. Beneath it are some books that I'm going to give to Gabriel when he's in a less throwy, rippy phase. Many of these, I think all of these are books from my childhood. So they are books that I would like to hand on to him, because that child loves a book. But he is, as much as he loves them, he is at the moment slightly rough with them. So we're going to save the ones that you can't get in print anymore, so that he doesn't, eat the pages or throw them across the room, etc. This is a lot better than it was. I'm feeling a lot less terrified about the sheer scope of text that I have. Okay, we're getting there. Yes, I thought I was a little bit sparse on the old literary criticism, literary theory. Found these little sneaky badgers trying to hide from me, but I located them and I put them where they belong, in the uncomfortable conversation shelf. So what we have up the top now is we have, as I said, the palace guides and house guides and some museum guides. So Shakespeare Schoolroom and Guildhall, for example. We've got the play programmes, women's writing / feminism. Some of these books I have not yet read, so it's also good that it's up here, because I want to read them. So Queenie comes high recommended. Haven't read that yet. Also haven't read In Defence of Witches. Also came recommended, so want to check that out. Love Caroline Hirons' skincare tips, so very pleased to have that book as well. And want to give From Here to Eternity a read. So it's good to have those up there, because then I know that they need to be read next. As I said, we have got, these are sentimental books. So this is a book somebody had made for me, book of Katrina. This is a early edition of Milton, poem books that I've been gifted. And then these ones here, those are those children's books that I'm keeping safe for my son. So this one is about a little elephant. Some friends of my parents actually were involved in the sanctuary that helped to look after this elephant. Perhaps you remember these books. They were great, weren't they? They've got letters inside. So I don't know if they still make these. So there's letters that you can open in alongside the book. It's such a lovely book. These actually aren't books. I mean, they are, but they are prop books. So one of my father-in-law's friends was a prop maker for lots and lots of films. And so these actually they're not real. They're prop books. Oh, that's pretty cool. Have some prop books there. Something else will go there as well. And then down here, those little, very short introduction books. They're always useful. Got a few of those. And then some self-help books, many of which were gifted to me. I think people perhaps wanted to make a comment. This book on self-defense is probably one of the most terrifying things I've ever read. I'm sure it's helpful. It did make me feel very anxious, so it's very good to have it next to rewire your anxious brain. And then some travel books, places that we've been, places that we want to go, things about London's rivers. Perhaps I'll put these walking tours up here. So I've got some of those little short walking tours. And then down at the bottom is the true crime shelf. which, I mean, I don't use a lot, but I did, and I have kind of come to, I'm unsure how I feel about the commodification of crime. So I have these books. Actually, I got a comment talking about what do you do if somebody, or if a theory turns out to be debunked, or if somebody who's an author turns out to be annoying, do I remove them from my shelf? No, I don't, because even a debunked theory, sometimes you have to reference it. Also, even if somebody does something that's irritating, it doesn't mean their scholarship is off. Would I necessarily promote them? Probably not. Will you see them on my bookshelves? Yes. I suppose it's that kind of thing like Twitter. A follow is not an endorsement, and a book being on my shelf is not an endorsement of the author or even of their theories. There are some things on this bookshelf that I fundamentally disagree with. However, they still have a place there, because if you want to have conversations about things, then you need to have the books, have a look at the books and see why you disagree with them. But in terms of these true crime books, Arbogast in the Dark was an absolute page turner. And when it was written, and indeed first published, it was an unsolved crime. When on the book tour, the crime was solved, and the person responsible, namely the Golden State Killer, is now in prison for those crimes. So it has in some ways, the story behind the book coming to publication is in itself a gripping thriller. So those are the books in my bookshelf. I'm going to tidy up my desk, and then I will show you what's currently on my desk that I am working on, that I'm using for research, that I'm just diving into. Last but by no means least, these are books that will end up on my shelf once I have finished with them. They are either new to me, or I am currently using them for reference for something that I am working on. Over here, they are my earmuffs because my ears get cold. So I've got this. If you're on Twitter, you've seen Fake History Hunter. Fake History Hunter has put out a book. I've bought it. I'm checking it out. I'm enjoying it. I have next up The Great White Bard to read. This is by Farah Karen Cooper. I think that looks really fascinating. Can't wait to check that out. I am looking into some East End history, as I usually am, to be honest, but I wanted to have a look at this book, Beyond the Tower, History of East London. I'm going to move on to Little Book of the East End as well. I'm dipping into the Ottomans for some things. We have got a Shakespeare motley here. That's a new book to me, so I'm going to check that out and see what I think of that. I think it looks quite sweet. Extraordinary Women in History. We've got some violence, Book of Duels, Dueling with Sword and Pistol, Boxiana. Love a bit of the history of pugilism. This is a book that has, as you can see, has been well loved and continues to be well loved. I've talked about this lots on this channel. I think it's a fabulous text. It's a really, for people, whether they've got a knowledge of Shakespeare or not, I think if you're coming to Shakespeare as a historian, if you're coming to history as somebody who likes Shakespeare, this is a great book for you. I believe, I have no doubt that it's still in print, and the images in it are also fabulous. So one to check out, potentially a really good Christmas present. This is a new book that was out this year. This is about the production of Shakespeare's first folio. It's doing really well, and it's, as you can see, this is a weighty tome indeed, and a very well-written weighty tome. I'm still working through it, but I'm really enjoying it. I've used The History of Treason from the National Archives. This is the basis. This was based on the exhibition that I went and checked out. And we've also got Brushing Up on Paleography. Tis a long process. This is also based on the exhibition. This one is at the Museum of London, their executions exhibition. Fabulous exhibition that was. And then we have some more paleography. The exhibition guide for
Becoming Anne at Hever Castle. The lovely Owen and Kate wrote that. And this incredible book of poetry, American Sonnets for My Past and Future Assassin. It's a really great poetry book. So that's what I have.
So that brings us to the end of the much requested bookshelf tour. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Did you spot any books that you are keen to check out yourself, or maybe to buy for someone else, perhaps as a little seasonal gift? As always, I'm looking forward to reading your conversations in the comment section underneath this video. I would also love it if you could pop an emoji or a social glyph in the comments too, because that will boost the engagement, and the more engagement a video gets, the more YouTube shares it out, which does help to grow this community. I think it's only fitting that we do something booky emoji-wise this time. You can also find me elsewhere on social media. I will leave links to the other place you can find me on the internet in my description box. Please do follow me over on some or all of those so that we can continue this conversation and start some others. I do hope that you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, please do share it with your friends. If you like the channel, let some pals know about it too. You can tell me you like this video in particular by hitting the thumbs up. Please do subscribe to the channel, and if you think you are subscribed, let's have a little check just now. Make sure you have not been mysteriously unsubscribed. While you are there, checking, subscribing, maybe resubscribing, please do hit the bell icon that sits beside the subscribe button and then select all in the drop down that will appear so that YouTube will allegedly tell you when I've next uploaded, but also when I am next planning to go live, which I do every so often, usually every other week, to talk about the history news, which I know you are not going to want to miss. We have now, of course, got the fail-safe. Please do head over to my website, www.katrinamarchant.com, and add your email to my mailing list so that I can let you know what I'm up to that way too. I hope you're going to have a great day, whatever you're doing, and I look forward to speaking to you all in my next video. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye for now.